Okay, so let's learn together. Good morning. So yesterday I shared with you the introduction from the Sefer HaChinuch, which I thought was so fascinating about disease spreading through water, and you have people who don't take it seriously. Um, Hopefully, at this point, we have more and more people taking it seriously because that's what the trustworthy people are saying. And of course, that's just the mashal. The real nimshal is that we know that we have a Torah mitzvos that we had 600,000 men, other than women and children, who witnessed the Yetziat Mitzrayim, the giving of the Torah, and we need to trust them and take what they're saying seriously, which is that life is here for us to do Ratzon Hashem, for us to do the will of Hashem. And of course, how do we know the will of Hashem? And that's what we call mitzvah. We call those our commandments that we need to review. And every parsha, has a list of mitzvot. Some of them have a list of 0, but many parshot have. And this week's parsha is a double portion, and it has one mitzvah in it. And lucky for us, it's related to Shabbos. And the mitzvah number 114, is Shelo Ya'asu Beitin Mishpat Mavet b'Shabbat, that the Beis Din should not carry out the death penalty on Shabbos. It's an interesting mitzvah. In other words, without this mitzvah, I might have thought that you could adjudicate cases on Shabbos. You could give a ruling if somebody deserves a death penalty on Shabbos. It's not one of the 39 malachos, right? There's writing, tying knots, carrying, and planting, whatever. You've got all of the 39 malachos, but you don't have one called not making verdicts. But yet the Torah tells us that there is a special don't do in the Torah, other than the 39 malachos, called not adjudicating death penalty on Shabbos. That means that neither should Beis Din prescribe a death penalty, and certainly not to kill the person. Now, killing a person would be from something of last week's parsha, where the Torah tells us, "Lo sivareish b'chol mosheseichem b'yom haShabbos," that you are not supposed to. Literally, it means lighting a fire, but the Gemara in Yevamos tells us that is you're not allowed to carry out the death penalty of sreifa, of putting someone to death through a fire. You're not allowed to do that on Shabbos either. So that's the source for the death penalty. And the Gemara there tells us it's not only limited to death through sreifa, death through burning, but it even includes any of the death penalties. However, the mitzvah in this week's parsha is about adjudicating. That the Torah tells us that it is not enough of a reason for us to, I would say, violate Shabbos, but the violation is sitting as a court. They should not make such a verdict on Shabbos. The question that one should think about is, why not? What is it that would have made me think yes to do it, yes to adjudicate and to give a verdict of a death penalty? And then what is the message that we could gain from when the Torah says that we are not allowed to do it? So I think that when one thinks on the first step of what is Shabbos about, they would say that Shabbos is where we take a break from thinking about the mundane. We no longer are thinking about things that are having to do with day-to-day life, and we live on a spiritual realm. And so much so that the pasuk in Yeshaya tells us, that a person should not be involved in their own chafetzim, their own objectives, their own desires, and don't talk about weekday matters on Shabbos, but cheftzei shamayim, but things that are desires from Hashem, mitzvos, one can certainly discuss. In other words, we would not have a discussion about personal business, but if we wanted to do a fundraiser for the shul, we wanted to discuss how we can make true on our word from Purim and plan to bring in new families to the community, then absolutely having such a meeting on Shabbos, even if it includes discussing money, even if it discusses, questions in terms of construction, how we could do it. Of course, that would be Cheftzei Shemayim. Those are things that are discussions for Hashem. And therefore, we are absolutely, yes, allowed to discuss them on Shabbos. Well, getting rid of somebody who deserves the death penalty, one would also think is Cheftzei Shemayim, right? If we're able to say we're fulfilling Hashem's will and we're going to adjudicate whether this person deserves the death penalty because of whatever Aveira they committed, one would also think that absolutely, yes, we should adjudicate the death penalty on Shabbos. So why not? Why not? What message can we learn from Hashem saying to us a mitzvah shelo yasu beit din mishpat mavet b'Shabbat, that the beit din should not adjudicate the death penalty on Shabbos? So I think that there's an appreciation of Shabbos that we sometimes miss out on, and maybe this year, maybe this Shabbos, we're able to take on. When we say that a person is supposed to be involved in Cheftzei Shemayim on Shabbos, there's two ways of perceiving that idea. There's two ways that one could think to themselves, I am doing what Hashem wants. One is because from a self perspective, I have an understanding of Ratzon Hashem. I know what it is that Hashem wants from me. And therefore, instead of doing the things that I want from me, on Shabbos, I'm going to do the things that Hashem wants from me. So 6 days a week, we do the things that are what's in it for me. And on the seventh day, I say, no, I'm going to focus on what Hashem wants. Now, if that's the correct perspective, then of course, go and do the mitzvah of adjudicating the court case on Shabbos, because it's what Hashem wants. But I think there's a higher level perspective that we could attempt to gain. And I think especially on this Shabbos, we should be able to appreciate, which is to say that 7 days a week, we're living in Hashem's world. 7 days a week, we're supposed to appreciate that Hashem is the control behind what's going on. There's one day where it's set aside for appreciating Hashem. But every day Hashem is running the world. Meaning that on a Sunday, a Monday, a Tuesday, when I'm going to work, when I'm with my family, when I'm involved in any activity, it's Hashem's world. It's a world where Hashem is in charge, and I need to be thinking about His Ratzon. I need to be thinking about what is His will, what is it that He wants from me. That's what I need to do each and every single day. And then comes a day, a Shabbos, to say, but this is designated on thinking about Hashem in a way where it's not distracted by the everyday. And I think that if we realize that that's why Shabbos is so important, our Shemona Esrei focuses on these ideas. If that's what Shabbos is about every week, then I can't be involved in somebody getting the death penalty. There's no way that I'll be able to properly think about that other person and whether they are deserve it or not if I'm on a Shabbos, because Shabbos needs to be put aside for that day of what is Ratzon Hashem. We've been living in this crazy new reality, and so many people have said so many different spiritual messages, and it seems to me like there's a lot of truth to them. But you know what? It's been really hard to focus on them. It's been really challenging to be able to say, yes, this is the message, and therefore I'm going to try this different behavior. For me, I feel like with this virtual school, reaching out to our teachers, reaching out and being there for my family, it has not been that level of peace. Am I involved in Ratzon Hashem? I sure hope so, but it hasn't been the case. And I think that this Shabbos saying, like, let's take them in. What are these messages? What is it that Hashem is communicating to us? And what could it mean in reality? I hope that we could all make that time for this Shabbos and be able to reach there. Those are my thoughts. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or questions or want to move on. I don't see any questions. I don't really see anybody. All right, so I'll wish you all a wonderful Shabbos, and God willing, we should only hear B'sura Tovot, good news from everyone. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.